Whether you've seen the series of films or not, everyone knows the name Crocodile Dundee. Paul Hogan is the man who brought the character to life, and he claims people around the world often have a hard time realizing that he isn't the iconic poacher he played on screen. Though being typecast has prevented Paul from having much of a future career, the actor doesn't much mind. He's grateful for the fact that he got to appear on the big screen at all. Instead of worrying about what could have been, the things Paul seems more worried about nowadays include the increasing homeless population in his neighborhood of Venice, Los Angeles, as well as the COVID-19 pandemic. Join Facts First as we explore why Crocodile Dundee's Paul Hogan was never seen again. Today, Paul Hogan is 82 years old. Though the iconic Australian actor isn't seen much nowadays, he's still doing fairly well for himself, despite some small problems. The actor is best known for his portrayal of the character Crocodile Dundee. The character has appeared in 3 films since the 80s, with the first being released in 1986. Like the previous Australian hit Mad Max, which made a global star out of actor Mel Gibson, Crocodile Dundee seemed poised to turn Paul Hogan into the next big thing. But the actor has not been able to do much with his career since playing the character a few more times. He reprised the role of Crocodile Dundee in a 1988 sequel, and then again in 2001's Crocodile Dundee in Los Angeles. Recently, Paul played a caricature of himself in the Dundee-related film The Very Excellent Mr. Dundee. Outside of die-hard Paul Hogan fans, most people likely aren't even aware that 2020's The Very Excellent Mr. Dundee exists. For the most part, Paul likes to keep to himself and stays away from the entertainment industry. Sightings of the actor have become so rare that they quickly become stuff of legend. Earlier this year, the actor made tabloid headlines when someone recognized him filling up his car at a gas station. A year prior, there was a public debacle where the actor was accused of writing a rather rude letter to his neighborhood's homeless population. Paul says he didn't write the letter he was accused of writing, though evidence suggests otherwise. The actor was photographed at the scene with a pen in his hand that appeared to utilize the same color of ink used on the letter. Paul defended himself, claiming he was standing around holding the pen because he was preparing to leave instructions for an electrician he was expecting at his property. Though Paul alleges that he wasn't attempting to express ire to the homeless population, the neighborhood that the actor lives in has certainly been suffering in the past couple of years from increased poverty. We're excited to have Tiege Hanley as the sponsor of today's video. They've helped me start and maintain my skincare routine by making the entire process uncomplicated. Honestly, it's the best skincare system for any guy who wants healthier skin. I recommend you start with their Level 1 system, which comes with all the basics, including a daily face wash to get rid of the dirt and grime on your skin, a 2 times per week exfoliating scrub to get rid of dead skin cells, an AM moisturizer with SPF 20 because you should always be protecting your skin from the sun, and a PM moisturizer to help your skin stay hydrated and healthy throughout the night. My favorite part about Tiege Hanley is that every box comes with an instruction card that tells you when to use each product, how much to use, and in what order. Their products have made my skin look and feel better than ever, but you don't just have to take my word for it. They have over 5,000 5-star reviews on their website from satisfied customers around the world. In addition to amazing skin, members of Tiege Hanley get tons of benefits, including at least 20% off the retail price, the ability to customize your box, exclusive monthly deals, pause or cancel at any time, and free U.S. shipping or low-cost shipping to most other countries. And because Tiege Hanley is sponsoring today's video, they're offering my viewers a great deal. Just click the first link in the description and you'll get 30% off your first box, plus a free gift. Don't miss out on this amazing deal. Click that link and get started today. Don't forget to check out Tiege Hanley by clicking the link in the description of the video. What's happening in Venice? Paul Hogan lives in the Venice neighborhood of Los Angeles, which has seen a large increase in its homeless population in the last few years. It's also become increasingly crime-ridden. Not only has that led to fewer visitors coming to the town, but also led to residents becoming increasingly fearful of venturing outside. It seems many of Venice's residents are choosing to stay indoors with their doors locked, and this was significantly exacerbated during COVID-19. One thing Paul has openly criticized is the world's handling of COVID-19. It seems the Australian actor has a bone to pick with everyone when it comes to the virus. For one thing, the actor was mad that he couldn't travel back to his home continent of Australia during the time when the pandemic was at its worst. Paul claims there was no way he would have been able to make it through the mandatory quarantine period that such traveling would require. According to him, he would have had to make the trip with his youngest son, Chance. Paul said he would have ended up strangling Chance if he was locked in the same hotel as him during quarantine. Besides not liking the restrictions placed on global travel during the height of the pandemic, Paul has also been vocally outspoken against anti-vaxxers. According to Paul, they're selfish cowards. Before we tell you more, be sure to give this video a like and subscribe to Facts First if you haven't already. Paul stays in America only to be with his son. Paul actually has 5 sons and 1 daughter. 5 of these children came from Paul's first wife, whom he was married to on 2 separate occasions. His first wife was a woman named Noeline Edwards. He first married her in 1958, and they stayed married for several decades before going through a difficult period in the early 80s. They divorced in 81, but they remarried a year later and remained so until 1989. It didn't take long for Paul to remarry, as he already had someone in mind. In 1986's Crocodile Dundee, Paul had been paired up romantically on screen with an actress named Linda Kozlowski. Sparks flew between the performers in real life, and Paul knew that she was the one he wanted as his second wife. Paul Hogan and Linda Kozlowski tied the knot in 1990. Linda also reprised her role in the film's 2 sequels. In 2013, Linda filed for divorce from Paul, citing irreconcilable differences. A year later, the divorce was finalized. Paul has yet to remarry, though he remains optimistic at age 82. Though he had 5 children with his first wife, he only had 1 with his second. That child is Chance. Despite claiming he might strangle Chance if forced to quarantine with him, the 2 seem to have a pretty good relationship. Paul threw a fit when he couldn't journey back to his home continent of Australia during COVID-19. Though he has since been able to travel back there, he still chooses to call Venice his home. The reason he stays there is because of support for his son Chance. According to Paul, if he could convince Chance to move to Australia with him, the 2 would make the move immediately. Paul doesn't mind being known just for Crocodile Dundee. The Crocodile Dundee films has a significant following nearly 4 decades after the release of the first one. The success of 1986's Crocodile Dundee was significant for several reasons. For one thing, the film was an independent feature. Independent features rarely become box office hits, but Crocodile Dundee was an exception. It was a fairly personal vision from Paul Hogan, who had come up with the titular character all on his own. Paul was a sketch writer and comedic performer in Australia, given the chance to travel to America for a gig. During this time, the actor came up with the idea for Crocodile Dundee. He made the concept of Crocodile Dundee into a film, which grossed over $300 million at the box office and turned him into a big star. You could say it turned him into a household name, but it's probably more accurate to say it turned Crocodile Dundee into a household name. To this day, Paul complains about people he encounters on his worldly travels mistaking him for the character he played. Though Paul claims he and the character are similar in spirit, they're a good deal more different than they are alike. For a time, Paul did consider trying to use the success he garnered via the Crocodile Dundee films to find roles in other features, but these attempts proved fruitless. Over the course of the 90s, Paul appeared in 3 theatrical releases and 1 made-for-TV film, but none of these features led to anything greater. At the turn of the millennium, Paul decided to bring Crocodile Dundee back for the first time since 1988's Crocodile Dundee 2 with the aforementioned Crocodile Dundee in Los Angeles. Released in 2001, it remains the last official film in the series. Paul has only appeared in 3 non-Dundee-related features in the past 2 decades. Now it's time to hear from you. Are you a fan of Crocodile Dundee? Which of the movies was your favorite? Let us know in the comment section below. And before you go, make sure you give this video a like and subscribe to Facts First if you haven't already. Click the bell icon to stay updated on all our latest content.